All right, welcome to another episode of the Mach Speed F1 Podcast. This time we're going to be covering Suzuka, which is honestly way more exciting than I initially expected it was going to be.
Especially lap one.
Very pleasantly surprised by the race overall. Very fun to watch throughout. It was just consistently exciting. But
Mhm.
anyways, we're just gonna go ahead and get into the thick of it. So, covering the entire race, I gotta say, it was way better than I initially expected, like I just mentioned a moment ago. But
Mhm.
going in, everybody figured Max would dominate. Sure enough, he did. That's no
Seconds.
surprise. Yeah. But Checo wasn't too far off this time, so credit where credit is due. He was actually kind of keeping up in pace. We once again saw a battle between Lando and the Ferraris, who,
Mhm.
yeah. Piastri, though, was not up there. And honestly, I would say he had kind of a stinker in
Yeah.
Suzuka. Just not a great weekend for him at all, really. But I wouldn't say he was the worst performance of the weekend. I'm not giving him that, but he was close, all things
Yeah.
considered. He did not do himself any favors at all. Like, he should not have finished where he did because Lando, of course, was up there, was fighting for a podium, qualified third on the grid. Just great weekend for Lando. But
Yeah.
anyways, getting into the rest of it, there was a really exciting midfield battle. Like, it was
It really
genuinely
was, and
impressive.
honestly, it was headed by Logan Sargent.
Yeah, Logan Sargent, Bottas, Hulkenberg, Tsunoda, and Stroll were all basically in a five-way battle throughout the entire race. Of course, Stroll shouldn't have been in that battle in the first place, but that when he goes out in Q1, that's kind of his problem. But
What do you expect from him, to be fair?
um him to get points at least. Oh wait, he didn't do that this weekend, did he? But anyways, uh like I said, very happy to see good battling, and it was impressive to see that these cars could battle as well as they did. I think it's a good sign that the regulations are working, as well as the cost cap, of course. So the cars are much closer together than they used to be. Because this is like 5 years ago. Max would just be like off in the distance, leagues away. The
Mhm.
qualifying gap would be like 2.5 seconds overall. But, we didn't get that. The gap is closer together, the cars are closer together, so we're able to see that drivers now have a greater impact.
Yeah.
So, it's great to see how competitive all these cars are in a close range to each other, that is. But
Yeah.
there were some standout performances, and there were some struggles. But
Does lap one count as a struggle?
with lap one, I would actually yeah, I would say, what, this isn't. I wouldn't qualify this to be incredible enough to be a talking point, but the moment between Albon and Ricardo, where they both crashed out in the beginning of the race, I would honestly just consider that an unfortunate racing incident. Neither of them
Yeah.
really at fault in that moment. Daniel Ricciardo actually, like, both of them actually did pretty well that weekend up until that point. Ricciardo
Yeah.
was only a little bit off of Tsunoda. Speaking of, Tsunoda got in P10 in qualifying. Great performance by him again. But
Mhm.
Tsunoda's going to be a whole other talking point later on. But yeah, Ricciardo, I mean, he improved. I'll give him that
Yeah.
much. And there is a possibility that there is a genuine problem with his chassis, which we did just discuss in the previous episode, but I'm just going to address it again for the sake of it. There is a very genuine possibility that there's a problem with his chassis because the engineers at RB are suggesting he gets a new chassis. And if
Yeah,
the
we don't see
engine,
that too often.
yeah, and if the engineers are saying it, there may in fact be a problem with the chassis. So I mean, if Danny Rick suddenly gets a massive performance boost next week and he demolishes Tsunoda, I would not be surprised. Also, it helps that China next week is one of his best tracks. But I would say
Mhm.
if Tsunoda handedly beats him again, I think it's going to be a clear sign whether Danny Rick is really there or if he's washed. And honestly, it could go either way.
Yeah,
Because, I
it really
mean,
can.
Yeah, because Danny Rick, I mean, just last year, Mexico, for example, he didn't he beat Checo in qualifying, or at least got
Yeah,
close? Yeah,
he beat Checo in quali.
yeah, and then had a great race. Like, that's the thing. Like, I think that Honey Badger is still there. I do think that he's still got that spark in him. I'm just not sure if it truly is lost, and Tsunoda is, like, that good right now. Danny
Right.
Rick is that bad. Like, it's kind of hard to tell, because if Tsunoda truly is this good that he's beating Danny Rick working at his best, then yeah. But anyways, that's a whole other topic for later. Don't need to get into all that just yet. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and go straight into our next topic, star of the weekend. Now, I do have a personal choice, but I want to hear yours.
This is a hot take for me because you're gonna know why in a second. Sergio Checo Perez.
I don't blame you for that choice, because I mean, Checo honestly did very well. He did everything he needed to as the second driver.
Hmm.
He wasn't too far off the pace of
And
Max.
he was competitive, which we have not seen from him in a while.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame you for choosing Checo. He had a great weekend. He put nothing wrong at all.
He won a bet against Christian Horner.
Yeah, he won a bet against Christian Horner. Props to him for that. I imagine he was very happy with that. And
Horner, on the other hand, was
honestly,
probably not.
yeah.
He lost.
I think that would be
It was a happy loss.
yeah, exactly. It's like, I mean, I lost, but you know what? I kind of wanted to lose in this situation, so you win some, you lose some, quite literally in this situation. But honestly, uh, like you said, Checo is doing a great job, and honestly, he's been doing a great job this season. I genuinely thought he was gonna lose his seat.
You and I were both saying that.
Yeah, about a year ago. I was saying that because he had a horrifically bad slump in mid 23. But this time around, this year, he has not put a foot wrong thus far,
Mm,
and he's just been performing very well for the most part. So,
yeah,
not really much to complain about, and he's doing everything he needs to make sure that he gets an extension at Red Bull, which appears to be quite likely because with talks going around, both Lewis and Alonso did attempt talks with Red Bull, and both were rejected,
yeah,
which I'm honestly not too surprised by. There were rumors about like Alonso and Red Bull potentially, but Red Bull refused. However, they did make an offer to another driver by the name of Lando Norris, which I find so funny. They've been trying to snag Lando since 2018. They
yeah.
initially wanted to grab Lando out of F3 and throw him in the Toro Rosso in 2018, but they couldn't do that, so they put in Brendan Hartley instead. But for that long, they've been chasing him at this point for 6 years or 7 years at this point,
Yeah.
and they're still trying. I respect their persistence because they know Lando is good. I mean, I would honestly say in terms of driver capability and performance, he's minimum top five, arguably top three right now. He's been
Yeah.
doing such a good job. And speaking of, he's my star of the weekend because
Yeah.
Lando qualified really well. He did everything he could in the race. The fact that he couldn't beat the two Ferraris was disappointing, but I think that's simply because the McLaren didn't have the pace for it. I think he extracted everything out of that car he could. He handedly defeated Piastri, and so honestly, I think had a very solid weekend overall.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, he
And,
did
and
very well. It was another weekend where he challenged up in the front. And another weekend where McLaren says they're not even at their best.
Yeah, and I mean, now I know I may come off as biased because I'm quite literally wearing a Lando Norris branded McLaren
You are
shirt right
quite
now.
biased. Let's
Yeah,
get that
well,
straight.
I will say that, but I mean, this honestly kind of reminds me of how Lando was doing in 2021, managing to put that car where it realistically shouldn't be and really taking it to the maximum. Because I mean,
Yeah.
2021 for about half the year, he was fighting for third in the driver's standings with Bottas and Checo, which
Yeah.
honestly was a really impressive feat. Unfortunately, the McLaren car kind of fell off in the second half of the year, but
It really did.
Yeah, but despite that, Lando had a really great season, and he's having another really great season this year. Uh, I genuinely think that if there's a season where Lando's going to win, I think this is going to be his best chance to win yet this season.
Yeah.
I'm hoping for that to happen, but knowing Lando's luck, it probably
Right
isn't.
now, I've been more on the edge of next season.
Yeah, I mean, McLaren, though, have done a very good job. The car is really coming together. The team's really coming together. They're doing everything they need to, and they've got one heck of a lineup. And, of
Yeah.
course, a star driver in Lando, who is committed for years to come, which I
I'm
bet Zach Brown breathes a sigh of relief with that one.
I'm just gonna say this. You might disagree with me, and that's fine. If Red Bull's not involved, there's one driver that right now Lando will not be getting by. And his name is Smooth Operator.
Oh, no, no. Unless McLaren really improves their development, I do not see Lando beating Carlos this season in terms of driver
No,
standings.
Carlos to me is already in my rankings is already ahead of Lando.
Thus far this season, I wouldn't blame you if you did put him ahead of Lando. Because, I mean, I'm officially on the pro Carlos agenda. I'm not going to lie.
Right now, for me, Carlos is second in my driver rankings.
Oh, yeah, I don't blame you. The man is just,
It's
he got
Max
another
first,
podium.
Carlos second. I don't see why Carlos is not second right now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just waiting to see, like, can he keep this momentum throughout the season? Because if he does, wow, is all I'm gonna have to say for that. But we've had some high points, and now we get to the low points. So, what is your flop of the weekend? Because mine is pretty apparent.
You go with yours first. I insist.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm gonna go with Alpine, which I know sounds like an easy choice, but I mean, like, they were nowhere. They were absolutely
Yeah.
nowhere. I saw some online posts after the race, like calculating pace and everything. Most teams found like a few tenths here and there. In the case of a couple of teams, they found over a second and a half. They found like 0.002 advantage compared to this year. That's what Alpine has
You
gained in that time.
millionths?
Like no, it's not a millionth. It's
Zero
it,
zero
it's
two?
2,000ths. That's it.
2000s. Okay. I
That's
heard a third zero. That's why I said that.
Yeah, no, it's just really, really disappointing for that team. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I feel really bad for Gasly and Ocon, especially Ocon this race, because because they literally said the radio, "Hey Ocon, we need to push," and Ocon basically went, "I am pushing. What more do you want from me?" like, I
Sounded like
oh,
someone else that we talked to.
yeah, I could hear the pain in Ocon's voice in that moment, knowing
Yeah.
that he's just driving an absolute piece of crap excuse of a race car right now.
Yeah.
Uh,
But
like,
my flop
I think
is actually
I'm gonna guess
okay.
Lance Stroll.
No,
Really? Okay, who?
it's not because my reasoning behind it will explain why.
All right.
The Logan Sargent lockup, because that could have been P10.
Oh yeah, I can understand that. He was almost my pick,
Lance
but
Stroll to me is up there, but Logan was that close to being ahead of Albon in the championship for the first time in his career. Would have been ahead of his teammate. Would have shushed everybody,
oh yeah.
and he locks up, has to pit again because he ruined the tires and just was nowhere.
Yeah, I don't blame you for choosing Logan. The thing is, for me, Logan at least impressed at some points of the race. And so for
Some
me,
points he
it's
got
like,
like one of the most screen times out of all the drivers.
yeah, I mean, he was having some great battles. He was doing some good overtakes. And like, now, if he didn't have any of that and also locked up, I would have rated him that low. But the thing is, I actually saw a few high points for Logan that
Oh,
weekend.
there were
But
definitely high points. I'm more
I
highlighting the
there
lockup
there were
instead of
no high
just
points for
Logan.
Alpine. There were literally none. It's just for a team that named themselves after a mountain
No,
range.
there's a high point. They
Um,
didn't get last.
oh, I was gonna say the high point was that their name is Alpine, so it's mountain like. Although, man, they might as well change their name to Valley with how low they are right now. This is
I was just gonna say their high point is that they didn't get last because of Logan's lockup.
Yeah, they literally got saved solely because of that, but that car just has no pace at all.
It
It's
has nothing.
it is absolutely worthless, that car.
Yeah.
They need to make some drastic changes because I already know that both Gasly and Ocon, like I'm quite certain that both of them are looking elsewhere in terms of teams, and I suspect Ocon is already going to Toto saying, "Hey, so remember how you put me in this team? I want out."
Yeah.
And Gasly is probably reconsidering joining RB. I wouldn't be surprised if he tried that because RB right now is still looking better than Alpine. That is
Yep.
absolutely horrifying. Although, one interesting thing I did see though was Lawrence Barretto choosing his driver transfer predictions, and he listed Gasly going to Williams next year. Yeah, that was my reaction. That was exactly my reaction.
Me?
But I mean, I could kind of see it in a way because
I
Gasly.
can't. I'm sorry, I can't.
No, I mean, I think it fits because then it's full circle, and Williams has officially become Team Red Bull Rejects.
You need help. You need help. Can we just move on to the next one?
All right. Okay.
And you're going first. I need a moment.
Biggest WTF moment. I'm gonna give it to Logan Sargent's lockup, probably.
Okay.
Uh,
I'm gonna throw something at you again, just like last time.
So, we've already discussed the lockup situation, but like, he was doing great up until he locked
Yeah.
up. So what was your biggest WTF moment?
Mine has no relation to F1.
Oh, really?
I've gone overseas from Japan. We've gone to the land that invaded them in the 1940s. We won't bring that up too much, but it's actually IndyCar.
Oh, are you talking about a
We
certain
have
Formula 2 champion making their way over to IndyCar for Long Beach this coming weekend?
no, that's not what I'm talking about. You are wrong, sir.
Oh.
I'm talking about for next season. We have a new team, Prema,
Oh, that's
driving
right.
under
Yeah.
the Chevy engine, and they already have a driver rumor.
Yeah. What's a rumor? I'm actually curious.
Mick Schumacher, F2 champion.
I could see Mick. Actually, that makes sense. I could totally see Mick going to IndyCar with Prema. That is a genuine possibility. And honestly,
and you know what? I think I already know who his teammate could be if a spot does not open up for him elsewhere, like we've talked about.
all right. I have a couple options, but go ahead.
Callum Ilott.
Yeah, honestly, Callum.
If McLaren does not open up for him, he's going to Prema.
I honestly see McLaren opening up for him because
That's
Callum
why
impressed.
I say if it doesn't,
yeah,
then I see him going to Prema.
I
think
yeah.
first choice he goes to McLaren.
I think McLaren IndyCar would have snatched up Callum had Callum's team not done him dirty. Basically, I think McLaren wanted to get him, but because
for Prema.
Okay, I have two in mind, but go on ahead.
Marcus Armstrong.
Yeah, one that I think is an outside chance, but still has a possibility. Robert Schwartzman.
I could see it. I don't think that's the worst choice.
Yeah, but again, like not as likely, but is an outside chance. I could absolutely see Mick going to IndyCar with
Mick
Prema.
right now is a fantastic choice, and that'd be wonders for him, especially since F1 for him is starting to really dwindle away.
Yeah, and besides, I mean, it's been proven that even Formula One drivers who aren't the most successful in the sport can suddenly find their footing really well in IndyCar. Ericsson is a fine example.
Even if he does IndyCar, he can still be the Mercedes reserve.
Oh yeah, I mean he can absolutely
so he can still be
that.
a part of F1.
Oh yeah, I think Mick would genuinely have a great time here in the States, and that would give me another reason to watch IndyCar more often. I'm not gonna lie, because
Even though you and I already watch IndyCar pretty much.
Oh, I don't watch as often as I should, to TBH, especially since Pat and I are planning to go to the Indy 500 within a month's time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I need to watch Long Beach this weekend. But
I will be watching Long Beach.
yeah. So moving on to our other two topics. Tsunoda's home triumph. So Tsunoda had a killer weekend, made it into Q3 again, and had to fight really hard, made some wonderful overtakes. In terms of just overtakes in general, I would say between him and Lando, they had the best overtakes of the entire weekend.
Hmm.
But yes, Tsunoda absolutely killed it. He's been killing it. And right now, I think he's really starting to throw his hat into the ring of the situation when it comes to driver transfers and such. Because I think the idea of Yuki going to Aston Martin is kind of a more open idea because, at first I was thinking, well, they would want him solely because of the Honda connection. But now, on top of that, he's really starting to show his merits as a driver. And so, like, as a full-on driver, this is a genuinely viable option. And I bet at Red Bull right now as well, they're looking at Yuki's improvement. And they're thinking, if this is genuinely Yuki beating Daniel Ricciardo on merit, who they rate, then Yuki, I think, is a genuine shot of taking that Red Bull second seat. If he continues at this rate for the rest of the season and does continue to demolish Danny Rick like he has been in style, yeah, Yuki is going to be on quite a few lists of some of these team principals come the end
Yeah.
of the year.
I'm just gonna throw this out there. Yuki was not driving that car. That was a new and reborn Danny Fiat Torpedo.
Yeah, uh,
Those were some torpedo-esque moves by Yuki Tsunoda.
I mean, the difference is, though, he made those moves stick. Like,
He did. That's why I said new and reborn.
yeah, I would say, like, right
Because
now,
back in the day when Danny was in Red Bull, he made torpedo moves and they stuck.
yeah, I would say right now the three biggest surprises of the season for me thus far have been Carlos Sainz, Yuki Tsunoda, and the Haas Formula One team. All of them have done way better than I initially expected. I actually expected Sainz to kind of get demolished by Leclerc, and thus far,
I'm
it's been the other way around. Like, and
I'm surprised
meanwhile,
you didn't say something else.
yeah, I was expecting Yuki to like narrowly lose to Danny Rick, but right now he's beating him handily, and I expected Haas to be like at the bottom with Alpine, but they're really up there and they are competitive. So
Yeah,
all three of them are doing well.
those are a good three. I'm surprised you also didn't mention Lewis Hamilton to Ferrari. That's a pretty
Oh,
big
well, yeah, I'm saying like overall in terms of performance, nobody expected
Yeah,
Lewis to Ferrari. That was
I called it, by the way.
yeah, you did call it, but then again, we all kind of did because like, well, not all of us, but a few of us did. You called it, and
Yeah,
I did
I'm
the
just gonna
moment we
call
saw
this now.
rumors.
I'm just gonna call this man out right now. The man who did not who called BS on it and was proven wrong, his name is Punju.
Yeah,
I'm calling him out.
yeah. I mean, the rumor mill started one night, and then like I was seeing more of it, and I remembered a couple days prior, Will Buxton went. I think there's a big announcement, and I don't know if I want to make it. And then I remembered that statement. I was looking at these rumor articles, and I'm like, hold up. And while I talked to a friend of mine, Miniko, and he kind of doubted it. And then the articles went crazy the next morning, and
I
he
started
messaged me, and
texting you.
and we were all like, "Oh my god, this is happening!" But yeah. Although considering what's been going on, I can't say I blame Lewis moving to Ferrari. As we move on into our final point, the Mercedes misery. Now,
What is
as
there not to talk about Mercedes misery?
well, yeah, they've been this way since 2022. Each year, they go, all right, I'm a fight Red Bull, and then they get here, and it's like, damn, Aston Martin's got hands, and so they just, they aim high, and they just continuously miss the mark. And this is a team
Yeah.
that dominated from 2014 to 2021, basically. Okay, 2021, it was more even, but they handily won the Constructors. So I'm
Yeah.
still giving them that. Like, this is a team with such high prestige and acclaim, and they've just continuously fumbled for the past 2 years and this year.
Yeah. I mean, it's just not been good for Mercedes. Also, with this season, you come off a double DNF Granted, Alonso did get his time penalty, so I guess that's some kind of like resolved from that weekend. But at the same time, you come back, everyone has high hopes. You're like, oh yeah, we'll be back to normal form, and you get seventh and ninth.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't help that right now, two of your customer teams are essentially performing on par, if not better than you are. McLaren is
Yeah,
clear of Mercedes right now. And Zach Brown, the CEO of McLaren himself, has basically outright stated, oh yeah, we can package the Mercedes engine better than Mercedes can at this point, which
and he's proven it.
he's proving it, which is like embarrassing for Mercedes. But also again, props to McLaren. You're killing it. Love you guys. But Aston Martin also has been doing a great job. They also have Alonso behind the wheel, so that does help. But Mercedes has a really great lineup as well. But they just don't have the base. The car is not there. They just don't have the capability. And more, a lot of their greatest guys are getting poached by other teams, going to McLaren, or in most cases, Ferrari. They just had an announcement of another employee being moved to Ferrari, and they're losing their best driver to Ferrari. So, like, Ferrari is just poaching Mercedes right now, and the team is not having a fun time. Now, okay, this is going to be an extremely hot take, a nuclear take, if you will. But I think if Mercedes continues to plummet at this rate, by the end of the decade, I could see them suddenly changing their minds in Formula One and going back to being a works manufacturer for McLaren.
God,
Like I said, that's if they continue plummeting at this rate.
That's a pretty nuclear take.
And yeah, it is a nuclear take, and I acknowledge that, but I could see it as an outside possibility if the team truly continues to spiral downward like this. But I wouldn't necessarily call it a full downward spiral, but it has been a descent. In 2022, they managed to score a win. They were on the podium on the regular. 2023, much less often. This time around, I don't think they've even been on the podium at all.
yeah, they have not touched the podium at all this
Yeah.
season,
Yeah, and they're getting handedly beaten by one of their customer teams by a
and they're not even
significant
in the
margin.
top three cars.
No, they're not.
Because the
They're
top three cars in order: first Red Bull, second Ferrari, third McLaren.
yeah. And well, I would say Aston Martin and Mercedes are about on the same level. So I mean, right now, Mercedes isn't looking great. Even then, Williams isn't too far off in that regard either. Because just in well, wasn't it in Suzuka that Alex qualified on the same row as Lewis Hamilton? Like,
Uh,
I think it
no.
was. No,
I'm checking.
it may have been
I'm checking.
Australia. I know in
You're
one of the
checking.
past two races, Alex qualified in the same row as Lewis.
I'm looking at results. Oh yeah. You're a bit off on Alex and Lewis here. Alex was 14th. Lewis was 7th.
Okay, it may have not been. I want to say it was either
It
Australia
was
or
Australia because they were 11th and 12th.
yeah, that's what it was. I remember them being on the same row. I just didn't remember if it was Suzuka or Australia. But yeah, there's that. So I mean, also at times last year, the Williams was just better than the Mercedes at a couple of points, which was
Hmm.
kind of laughable. I mean, like Mercedes is just declining right now. Their personnel just doesn't seem to be heading in the right direction. Like each time they swing up to bat with a new concept, a new plan, and it just doesn't work, and it just keeps on failing over and over again. And while other teams are finding concepts and moving forward, they just keep on having to move back to square one, and it's hurting them
Hmm.
dramatically. They're losing ground to these other teams. In fact, Mercedes, they were losing so much, and McLaren has gained such a huge amount in a short span
Hmm.
that, like we mentioned, McLaren is clear ahead. Now, for Mercedes and their pedigree and their capability, this is like horrifically bad for them. Now, of course, they aren't as in a horrific state as Alpine, of course, but they can still be competitive. But yeah, they can't seem to finish on the podium at all like they regularly were in the past couple of years.
They don't look like Mercedes.
They really don't. They look like the Mercedes of, say, like 2010, 2011. Like they've lost that edge that they used to have. But of
Yeah.
course, it like I said before,
You
I
could probably
do
also
think,
argue 2012 in some degree.
yeah, 2012 though, they managed to get a win in China. So I mean, hey, who knows? Maybe they'll be faring better where they achieve their first victory. Do I think they will? No.
No.
Um,
I'm gonna join you in that one. No.
no, I do
I
not
think we're
think
in
they
for
will.
another Max Verstappen show.
Well, it's going to be another Max Verstappen show for sure, but
We
one
said the same thing
outside,
for Australia.
yeah,
So.
one unexpected factor I think could be the RBs, and I think they could be surprisingly competitive this time around.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's just something we gotta wait and see because it's gonna happen. And really, I mean, we have practice tomorrow night for us.
Wait, it's tomorrow night already? Ah, yeah.
I guess it's a sprint weekend, I think. Yeah, it's
It is a
tomorrow
sprint
night.
weekend. Oh yeah, that's gonna be very interesting to see. Well, looks like we have another topic to cover next time we do an episode.
We're gonna be up really late, aren't we?
Yeah, well, I'm going to be out really late. If I remember correctly, you said you were not going to watch the full race live. I am.
Mage, I was correct
What?
because it's gonna be at 11:30 p.m. tomorrow night.
I'm staying up for it. Why not?
It's 11:30, then sprint quali's at 3:30.
And wait, with spring qualifying is at 3:30.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm not staying up that late. I got work, but
That's why you said you were gonna stay up for that. I was like, you were
no, not sprint, not
maniac.
sprint qualifying, sprint race and the feature race, sure, but I am not doing that.
Yeah. I was calling you a madman because you said originally you could stay for sprint quali. I was like, man.
Oh yeah, and by the time this video is uploaded, you'll probably have seen the full trailer for the new upcoming F1 game. I hope that they fix the liveries, because man, the liveries in the 23 game suck.
I hope the spectator view for us commentators is a little bit better.
Yeah, they did improve upon it in the past couple
They
of
did.
games,
I would like
which,
them to improve it a little bit more
yeah,
because I feel like
I do agree.
it's lacking in some areas.
Yeah, I would like to see some stuff like tire graphs and all that. I think that would be very nice to see. So, Codemasters, if you're watching this, let's face it, I know you're not. I'm not going to presume that much. We really like to see that kind of thing, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah. There's no F2 until a month from now when we go to Imola, so I have nothing to really bring up there.
Yeah, one thing I did see though during the race, as one final note, it was kind of funny. By the way, the camera people and the producers behind the Formula One broadcast are absolutely diabolical for this, but I love them for it nonetheless. Danny Rick, after he DNF'd, was in the RV garage
no.
watching, and then just pans out to Liam Lawson right behind him. That was so diabolical. That is on the same level as the gap to Lewis and Max in Imola 2022 as Max laps him. I'm just like, why? Why are you doing him like this? Oh, like, I mean, he's already out of the race at this point. You're just kicking him while he's down.
Don't they do that for every driver once they're out of a race, though?
That's
They kick them all the time.
Well, yeah, and I'm not gonna lie, while it is diabolical, I do appreciate it at the same time. Like, that's some super villain level stuff, but I'm not gonna lie, if I was behind the broadcast, I'd do the same thing. If anything, it would also just take like a digital marker and specifically circle Liam Lawson.
Just the NFL, like,
Yeah, literally,
just
literally like that. Literally exactly like that. I do think though,
may just do freeze frame. So you see, there's Daniel Ricciardo over here. If you look behind him, there's one Liam Lawson.
yeah, I think one way or another, Liam Lawson will be in the RBC, and the rest of the season will decide whether Daniel Ricciardo stays or he gets replaced by a certain New Zealander. Which I know a certain YouTuber by the name of Josh Revel will be overjoyed about that one. Finally getting the fellow Kiwi into the sport. And I mean, Liam Lawson showed very impressive potential at Suzuka last year, so I think if he manages to deliver on that, that's a very exciting prospect for Red Bull in the future. And I do hope to see him on the grid next year. I think it'll be great to see. But that is it. And we look forward to China, where I'm going to stay up until probably about 5 o'clock in the morning watching the feature race, and I will subsequently hate myself in the morning. But, that's for future me to worry about, not present me. So future me can deal with that one and then hate past me. Anyways, that is going to be it. And we'll be seeing you all in the next episode. I've been Mach Mage.
I've been Pat.
And we'll be seeing you all next time.